Okay, so we can actually talk about the stuff that we are here for, even while posting the link. So, just you can give a little bit of introduction for somebody maybe who's joining here for the first time, who doesn't know you.
All right, guys. So my name is Mayank. I'm a YouTuber. I'm a content creator, and I graduated from HEC Paris 1 year ago, and I work full time in France right now. And before this, I was with Arif and Manipal from in India, and I studied computer science, and I studied like the MIM Grande Ecole at HEC. I specialized in marketing, and now what I'm doing as well is in marketing.
So, how has your experience been so far? I mean, you had a pretty good journey with HEC Paris, plus with your internships abroad. So, just tell us about how has it been so far for the last 3 4 years.
Dude, like honestly, the last 3 4 years has been pretty crazy, man. Like, so I came to HEC in 2018. So I came to HEC in 2018, August 2018. Did my first year at HEC, and then after my first year at HEC, I got an internship in Los Angeles at a startup. And then so I did that internship for 6 months, and then I got an internship in Paris for another 6 months, and that was in 2020. And then after that, I was like kind of free for 2 months, and then I went back to HEC for my second year, I specialized in marketing. And honestly, it was wild. I feel like I I think I was pushed outside of my comfort zone the most in the last 3 to 4 years.
Definitely, I can agree with that because even when we were in Manipal, we used to think that yes, we are outside of our homes, we are in our undergraduate school, and there's so much to learn. But actually, when I came to France as well, there's so much that you know experience because of the new cultures. It's you meet new people, not just Indians, but you meet other
You
nationalities.
meet people
You
from
learn
everywhere.
French,
Yeah.
so it's been a roller coaster ride, definitely. And the one thing that I want to talk about is a lot of people, they want to study in Europe, they want to study in France or other countries. And what specifically drove you to France? Why not maybe, let's say, Netherlands or Spain or Italy? Why France?
Okay, so for me, I had actually come to HEC. So like as I mentioned, I studied at HEC Paris, and I had actually come to HEC Paris before in 2016, in after my second year of college, for okay, we have another question. We will answer
Yeah.
that. So I decided to come to HEC Paris in 2016 as well for summer school.
Okay.
And the summer school I came primarily because like I wanted to do something nice. I wanted to do something interesting in the summer after second year of college. And I just searched on Google for like summer schools in Europe, and I found HEC. I found the luxury management program. And then I attended the summer school. I was here for 2 weeks, and I had a fantastic time. And it was after that it kind of like opened my eyes to France, and it kind of opened my eyes to the fact that MIM also exists, and the whole MIM thing. I basically learned about it, through the summer school, and I learned about it after coming to France. So I was definitely a little bit more comfortable to move to France than other places. Also because I also knew that HEC was like the number one ranked MIM school in Europe,
Mhm.
and like one of the best schools in the world, and that was in France. And so the choice was also because of that. It was just that I wanted to go to the best school, and that happened to be in France. So then I came to France for that.
So it was like maybe when you came for your summer school, you kind of got the idea as to how it is to live in France, how it is to live in
Exactly.
Paris, and you kind of liked it. And then you had uh, a course that was, sufficing your needs to do a master's degree, and that
Exactly.
was itself in Paris.
Exactly. So I kind of like decided to come to France for HEC. So the choice in my head was HEC, and it was not necessarily France. Also, the thing was that I always knew that I wanted to work in marketing, and France, I feel like among all other European countries for marketing specifically, I feel
Mhm.
like the number of opportunities in France are way more. So that
Okay.
also is what drove me to move to France.
Okay,
So it kind of
that's
just
that's
like
interesting.
was for marketing as well as for HEC.
Okay, because when we think about studying in Europe, a lot of people they go to Germany
Yeah,
because like they have like free education as well over
yeah,
there. But I think it's a different industries than what
exactly,
you wanted.
exactly.
Plus, you wanted to focus on marketing, so France was a better option at that
Exactly.
point of time.
Because I mean, like, look, in France, that's where you have a huge media industry, right? You have a huge luxury industry. You have a really good and growing tech ecosystem as well now in France, right? And I feel like after London, Paris is the next biggest European city where all the opportunities are.
Okay.
And so you, aside from luxury, you also have beauty, you have like other
True.
big industries. There's a lot going on in Paris, which is what kind of like attracted me to the city for the most part, and to the country as well.
Definitely. And one thing that a lot of people struggle with is when they think about studying abroad, the main question they ask themselves is, should I go for a master's degree right after the graduation, or should I, work for a few years? So for me, I worked in Deloitte for 2 years, and you came to Paris to HEC directly after your graduation. So what was your thought process behind that at that point of time?
Man, honestly, look, for me, I guess I was a little bit, I would say maybe different in this way, or maybe I was just too stubborn. It was that I knew going, so I studied computer science, as I mentioned earlier, right? Like I studied at Manipal along with you. I knew from 12th standard that I wanted to go into marketing. I didn't
Okay.
want to become a software engineer. I didn't want to become an engineer in general. You know, I still decided to study computer science because I love tech, and I knew that I would be going for a master's after my bachelor's.
Mhm.
So it made sense to do kind of like two different fields than to do business and then business, at least for me, right?
Okay. Right.
So when I was in Manipal, I already knew that I'm not going to be a software engineer. So I didn't even do engineering internships. I didn't even do extracurriculars, anything related to that field. I always knew I was going to go into marketing.
I mean, yeah, I remember that you were pretty famous back in Manipal as well. The guy with his camera, photography, videography, used to shoot videos for all our festivals, cultural fest, technical fest.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the videos you made, I think it was for the Tech Fest, which was really beautiful. And
Yeah, for Rebels. No, for
Revels, I
Tech
think,
Tatwa
yeah,
and
Tech
Rebels both.
Tatwa and
Yeah.
Revels. So that was really something that I loved at that point, that you are doing something which is different from your
Yeah.
main studies, because at
Yeah.
that point of time even I was interested into graphic design.
Yeah.
So apart
And you were
from
doing
my
that too. You were like designing t-shirts
yeah,
and stuff, right?
for me electronics and communication was my education in Manipal, but I was interested into graphic design, so I joined a startup. I
Yeah.
joined Soul Store as a freelance designer, and at that point I wanted to keep that creative part alive. And that's I would say that I was still pretty much doing it at a very low stage, but when I saw your setup, when I saw what the things you were doing, making videos for the Tech Fest, and how you were progressing at that point of time, I think you even made like a music video.
Yeah.
uh, so
Dude,
that was
I did a
something next
lot of
level.
I did a lot of things, man. Like back in Manipal, like I really knew that okay, marketing is what I wanted to do. And so I was like, okay, look, how can I like prepare my profile? How can I prepare? Forget my profile, forget the CV. I was never doing it for the CV, but it was more like, how can I build my skills and have experiences in doing this so that I can jump straight into marketing right after, while also still leveraging the fact that I have a computer science background, which means a lot in marketing. I realize now, you
Mhm.
know. And so that was kind of the idea. Like, so that's why I decided to straight out go for my master's right after my bachelor's, because I did not want to spend 2 to 3 years working in a field which I had no interest in developing my long-term
Exactly.
career in, right? So for me, even spending 2 years working as an engineer would have been a complete waste of time, because I know I'm not going to be an engineer after that
True.
anyway,
True that.
right? So that was kind of my idea, right? And I felt it to be a little bit challenging finding like a core marketing job after studying computer science at that time, right? And so that's why I was like, okay, it just makes logical sense to go for my master's straight after bachelor's.
For me, I had a little bit of thinking, like I had a different thinking. For me, I wanted to go into the creative field, maybe marketing, maybe graphic design, photography, videography, but I wasn't so sure, because at that time I kind of dabbled with the graphic design part in my second year, third year. And then I was also a pro MBA guy at that point of
Right.
time, that I want to
Do an
have some,
MBA.
yeah,
Right.
have some 4 5 years of work experience, then do an MBA. But I wasn't sure
Man,
of the field.
that's like the classic thing to do in India, like you study engineering,
Like,
you work four or
work for
five
four
years,
5 years, and
do
then
MBA, put your profile on shadi.com, that's
yeah, the shadi.com is variable for a lot of people, but yeah, true.
but
Engineering, 3 4 years of work
yeah,
experience,
man.
MBA,
But
and yeah.
you okay, but then what made you change your
So
idea?
for me, when I joined Deloitte, I really loved the job. Like I was learning about SAP, so I was
Okay.
working as a consultant in SAP, and I really liked the job in the first initial year. I was learning a lot, but then I figured, and that's I think 2019 onwards, I understood that I am much more of a managerial and people
Right.
person. So now I decided, okay, fine. Marketing and managerial roles is something that I want to do for the rest of my life, keeping my creative side alive. So I wanted to, combine all of
Right.
them. And that's when I stumbled upon a lot of schools, HEC, ESSEC as well, and I applied. And initially my number one, like the plan A that people have was for LBS.
Okay. Yeah.
But at this point of time I can say that I'm glad I came to ESSEC, because
Totally.
I got the apprenticeship opportunities, I got that flexibility, I have more clarity because it's a longer course. So because of that I kind of got the overall bigger picture as to exactly where I want to go. And that's what I think HEC also offers, because HEC also is a 3-year course. If you take the gap year,
Yeah.
you do your normal basic courses in your first year, you take the gap year to realize your passion, your hobbies, you try out different internships as well, and then you specialize in a field in your third year, and that's what you did as well.
Yeah.
So when it comes to this comparison of studying in France, we have the similar question as
Yeah,
well.
we have questions in the chat, like, asking. So I think we've got two questions now, which is like, why did we choose to go to France rather than stay in India? And so Yogesh as well as Neo Gamer asked this question, right? And Aryan, you asked about ESSEC versus HEC. We will get to that in a bit as well. And okay, cool. So maybe we can talk a little bit about why we chose to move to France rather than stay in India.
Yes. For me, I think the main question was I wanted to expand my comfort zone and I wanted to expand my perspectives.
Right.
Because living in India, the problem is we are surrounded with very like-minded people.
Yeah.
Even if you live in, let's say, the north part or the south part, east part or western part, they have different opinions, but still it's pretty much confined into one space.
Sure.
But when you move abroad to a different country, let's say the UK, US, Canada, France, Australia, any country, they have very different perspectives, they have different cultures, they have different outlook towards life. For example, in Europe, work life balance is a very strict policy,
very, very strong.
very
Yeah,
strong.
totally.
But that's not the case with India as well as some Asian countries.
Totally.
So to understand different perspectives, to understand where people are actually coming from, my idea was I want to go abroad, I want to go to a country where the culture is very different, so that I can mingle with people, I can understand them, I can maybe learn a new language as well. And that was my main aim of going abroad.
Right, and that makes a lot of sense. And for that, I feel like studying abroad is like the easiest way to do that at a young age, right? It's like the easiest, if not only way to do that, like straight out of college. I mean, yeah, there are some people who get jobs abroad straight out of college from India, but that's not everyone, right? And for me, it was kind of similar. Like in my case, it was like, I mean, I would say that I've been quite privileged enough to have had exposure to the Western world since I was like much younger, because I first visited the UK with my family when I was 8 years old, and then when I was 14, from my school in Bangalore, we had like this German exchange program where I lived with a German family for 3 weeks. This was when I was in 10th standard, and I lived with a German family for 3 weeks. And my German buddy, who was like the exchange partner, he lived with me for 3 weeks in Bangalore as well. So it was like this exchange, right? And then so living in Germany for 3 weeks, it made me realize that, man, like I love the life here. It's so nice. Like it's like as you said, work-life balance is fantastic. I love the fact that everything, you can be in nature, you can be in like smaller towns, but still have access to like big opportunities. I don't know. It's just that was just something about European life that really attracted me.
And it's very different, like the life here, the things that you need to do on your own, the things that you have to think about, it's very different than in India.
And I also feel like there are some types of people, I guess, who just get this itch to move away from home. It doesn't matter from where you're moving and to where you're moving. It's like there's a bunch of Americans, for example. America is a great country, right? But there's a bunch of Americans who want to like get away from home and move to Europe. I have a friend, who is from Northern Europe, and Northern Europe is fantastic in terms of development, but she just cannot think of going back there. Like, she wants to move out of there and move to Paris, because I feel like there are some people, again, who they just have this itch to get away from home. And I feel like for me, I also had this itch to kind of like get away from home, because I feel like when you're outside of the context that you grew up in, that's when you can learn so much about yourself, about the world. You can freely develop your personality without the influences, the subconscious or conscious influences of the people around you.
True.
And for me, I was really chasing after that as well. I knew that if I moved to Europe, I would basically have this opportunity to meet different types of people, have different experiences, and learn things that I would not have otherwise learned.
True that. Definitely, I agree with all of this point, because for me also, Like you said, I came to Western Europe before moving to France, and that was a little trip in UK and some countries here, France, Switzerland, and the things that I saw, the people that I met, and I used to just roam around in the evening, just take a train ticket, just go here and there, take the bus,
Yeah, it's
maybe
great.
even walk sometimes.
Yeah,
And when I understood that life here is completely different and how you can grow if you're coming here even for a few years, that's when I went back home. I decided, no, I want to do something abroad.
totally.
And that's when I even talked to Siddharth,
Yeah,
and he also convinced me that if you want to move abroad, if you are like a people's person, or even if you want to just change your geography, change your company, MBA is not the only option. MIM is a great option
totally.
where you can just move abroad.
It was probably around the same time that I was also chatting to Siddharth a lot. This was in 2019.
Yeah, 2019.
Because I
Yeah.
remember I was in Los Angeles in 2019 doing my gap year internship there, and I was helping Siddharth out with his application at
Application.
that time and answering questions about HEC versus LBS and all that.
Yeah. So that is something also that got me convinced after talking to him that yeah, MIM is a very good option, and that's what a lot of people also struggle with. After I have gotten so many queries on my Instagram that I am in my third year right now, fourth year right now. What should I do? Should I wait 3 to 4 years, get that experience, and do an MBA, or should I directly go and do an MIM? For me, there are two different categories where
Yeah,
people should think about this.
totally.
If for you, for instance, if you are pretty much clear of your field of what you want to do, and there is an opportunity abroad which will help you do that,
Yeah,
by all means go right after
yeah,
your
totally.
graduation. For me, I was a little bit confused after my fourth year. I didn't know exactly which stream, which
Sure.
field I
And then
wanted
it
to
makes
go
sense
in.
to kind of wait, right? Because
Yeah.
it's a big investment of time and money to move abroad, right? And you want to be sure that you're doing it at the right time and for the right reasons.
Exactly. And there's no and if somebody says that you are a little behind in the race, that's not the case,
Dude,
because
there's no race.
exactly,
First, like, there's no
there's no
race.
race. It's with yourself.
It's with yourself.
And
Yeah,
even in one single batch, you will find people who are complete freshers,
totally.
and you will find people who have 3 to 4 years of experience,
Totally.
and they have different aims, they have different goals and aspirations.
Exactly. I mean, that's a point I want to get back to. But circling back to this question that we had, just to conclude that about why, both of us, we chose to come to French business schools rather than, stay in India. For me, it was because, like, my big reason of coming to a French business school was to move to France, was to move to Europe. So, because of that, I didn't even consider the Indian business schools. I did not even write the CAT. I didn't apply to them at all because I was very clear in my mind that I want to move abroad. I want to move to Europe. And so it was like a pretty clear option for me, and that's why I didn't consider it at all.
True that, true that. So we have next question, which is, how does ESSEC MIM compare against HEC MIM in terms of employment prospects?
Honestly, okay, look, so Arif, you are still at ESSEC. I've graduated, it's been like a year now. And so I honestly, I get this feeling that there's really not that
Not
many,
much difference, yeah.
there's not any difference.
For me, the only thing is that HEC is a little more famous for finance graduates. So a
Yeah,
lot of people, they do get into finance. It's the same case that every single business school has a certain USP. So like if you consider in Europe, you consider INSEAD. So a lot of people go into consulting from INSEAD.
yeah, yeah,
When you consider HEC, a lot of graduates go into finance.
yeah.
You
Finance and consulting from
finance and
HEC as well.
consulting.
Yeah,
When it comes to ESSEC, a lot of people go into marketing.
yeah.
They I mean, obviously, you also have options for finance and luxury as well, but
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think it's just generally people go into marketing from
Yeah.
SI. And so that's kind of the thing. I realize now after being like almost a year after HEC, is like I don't think there's any difference at all in terms of employment prospects. It's all about, what are your objectives and what's the way
Exactly.
you are able to like navigate through these opportunities. Because both these schools are gonna give you different opportunities, similar but also different opportunities, right? Like ESSEC is way more flexible, right? So because it's way more flexible, you have like the option of going on exchange and you have the option of doing different things, right?
Exactly.
Whereas at HEC it's like a little bit more rigid in the sense that you have like first year, gap year, second year, right? It's just a matter of what fits with you better, and then once you know what fits with you better, you have all these opportunities. You just take advantage of these opportunities, like in different ways depending on what is it that you want to
Mhm.
do, right?
Exactly. For the thing is, when it comes to HEC and ESSEC, just like how you mentioned, there are different opportunities. Um, it also comes to what are your priorities during the period. For a lot
Absolutely.
of people, for me, getting an apprenticeship was important, and that is something that ESCP didn't provide
Yeah.
internationals, non-Europeans,
And
and
HEC does
HEC
not
did.
provide either.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So for
totally.
me, ESSEC was a no-brainer when it came to these
Totally.
options. And for some people, let's say if you are much more interested towards finance, HEC could be a much better option than ESSEC. And for also other people, let's say if you are clear about your goals and perspectives and
Yeah.
your aspirations, maybe a 1 year MIM is also good enough for you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's also a very big question, because HEC, ESSEC, ESCP are 2-3 years course.
No, LBS is 1 year.
One, exactly. So HEC,
Ah, sorry.
ESCP,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
ESSEC are three,
Yeah,
two to
these
three
are
years,
3 years. I don't know
and
why I heard LBS, but
almost
yeah,
every college that offers MIM in the UK are 1 year.
is 1 year.
So if you're pretty much aligned with
Exactly.
your career goals and aspirations, definitely take up a 1 year MIM.
Totally.
But if you're confused and you want to experiment, because the thing with ESSEC is that it's very flexible. You can take any course you want.
Yeah.
You can even take a 3-month, 4-month gap where you're not taking any course at all in a trimester, and you don't need to necessarily have an internship. You can just directly maybe travel and chill in those 3 months just to figure out what you want to do.
Yeah, you can do that.
And with the concept of the gap year, the thing with HEC is that you do your first year and then you have the gap year. So you have that 1 year period where you want to, explore maybe 2 different internships
Yeah.
or one something. But with ESSEC, the more flexibility that I got was I could have started internships whenever I wanted. So
Yeah.
if you are somebody who wants to, see the work landscape,
Yeah.
maybe they can consider ESSEC. They can come, they can do 1 trimester, and then they can start an internship, which a lot of people are doing.
Yeah.
In my batch,
Yeah.
in the junior batch, and definitely people who would be coming in the 2022 batch, they will be doing as
Exactly.
well. So that is something that every single school has a little bit different.
So basically the point is that it's just different. Like employment prospects are the same. It's not
Exactly.
that if you study at one school you're gonna have better prospects and the other school you're gonna have inferior prospects. It's just that, look, okay, I'll tell you what, let me break it down in a very simple
It could
way,
be,
right?
yeah, the path might be different, but the destination might be the same.
Exactly. I wouldn't even say the destination is the same, to be honest, because look, when you're in undergrad, okay, like when you're in your bachelor's, particularly in engineering or like in India, right, it's like you all start from the same place and your goal is more or less kind of similar. If you're studying engineering, if you're studying computer science, for instance, most people's goal is to get an entry level software engineering job, right? And so where your platform that you start from and what you're trying to reach is also kind of similar-ish, right? Or it's either entry level engineering job or you want to go do a master's in the US or something like that, right? But when you are doing an MIM, when you're doing a business master's, right, one, you don't start from the same place. As you said, there are some people who start with 3 years of experience. Their goals are totally different from
Exactly.
mine. I started as a complete fresher. You started with two
Two
years of
years
experience, right? For me, I wanted to begin my career at the end, right? But whereas for you, you're not beginning your career from scratch.
And for me, the thing here was I have been in a corporate job for 2 years.
Yeah.
So I kind of have that, little idea as to how the
Exactly.
world works or how the corporate world works, maybe.
Yeah.
So when I am looking for a job, maybe in those 2 years, I figured out that this is the kind of manager I want to work with. This is the kind of team that I want to work with.
So your
So I have
objectives
the-
are a bit more clear.
Objectives are a bit more clear, but the path is also a little bit different in that case.
Exactly, right? But the thing is, but yeah, exactly, right? So your objectives are a little bit more clear. But for me, for instance, my objectives were clear enough that I wanted to go into marketing, but I wasn't exactly sure exactly what, right? So I think there's no better prospects or inferior prospects. It's all about what you want to do.
Exactly.
And where you see yourself going and what kind of a program is better for that. Some people, LBS might be better because it's 1 year. So because, some people value the fact that it's 1 year because it's quick. You don't waste that much time. Whereas for me, I loved HEC because it's 3 years. I wanted to basically, because I knew my objective was to settle in France and start my career here and all that. I wanted time to learn French. I wanted time to really figure out the direction I want to go in. And if I did a MIM in 1 year, that would not be enough time for me to figure all that out. And that's why 3 years were fantastic. So I think it's really kind of like, it's all on what you want. And this is, again, something which I think a lot of us are not used to in India or in Asia particularly, is that we're not really used to, trying to figure out what we want to do and then doing that.
Exactly.
It's a lot of times, particularly in engineering, right? At least this was my context. It's like everyone is doing something, so you kind of just do the same. It's not
follow the herd.
Yeah, but it's not like what you want to do. But when you come here, if you follow the herd, you're not going to get anywhere. because the herd is not going into one place directly.
There's no
Everyone's
herd.
going.
Yeah,
There's
there's
no
no
herd.
herd. Everybody is going in their own direction.
Exactly. Right? So
And
you have to like figure out what you want to
and the
do.
best part of working with people here, you look at their profiles. So I have a couple of teammates who they had such different things in their profile, and that kind of motivates you that this is how the other part of the world
Exactly.
lives. We have been
Exactly.
just focusing on just that typical mentality that you said, did that engineering degree, 4 years of work experience, and then MBA. But when you listen to people here, I have a friend at college who was a firefighter for some years, then was basically doing some photography too as well when I wanted to come here.
Man, it says please wait while we try reconnecting. Your connection is unstable. Why is it trying to reconnect? Okay, I think we're back now. Yeah.
So
So yeah, man. I mean, that's the thing. And you know what, Aryan, you wrote a question. Is it required to do an MBA after completing MIM, maybe 3-4 years down the line? It's again like, mate, let me tell you something. There's nothing that's required for you to do in life. Okay, it's all about what you want to do. Like there's no requirement at all. After studying an MIM, you required for you to do in life. Okay, it's all about what you want to do. Like there's no requirement at all. After studying an MIM, if you want to change your career path, maybe because you want to change your geography again, maybe because you want to change just like your network that you have. But that's depending on what your requirements, your needs, what your objectives are. It's not the right decision for everyone. There's no also like
there's no one set path.
There's no one set path, and also, man, like there's no requirement as such. Like if you want to live life where you want to work in a particular like high stress but high income career path, that's one way of living life. Another way of living life is doing what you really want to do, but maybe you're not earning that much money, but you have more free time to spend with your friends and family. That's another way of living life. There's no requirement of doing one or the other. Exactly. It's all about what you want out of life. So if you want to do an MBA, if you want to, change your landscape after 5 years, sure, that's one way of doing it. But it's not a requirement.
Yeah, it's not a compulsion. Plus, like I have seen when I wanted to apply to ESSEC as well as other schools, I have talked to people who just did MIM. I've talked to people who did MIM and then 4, 5, 6 years down the line they did some MBA, and even talked to people who did MIM and then 10 years down the line they did some executive MBA.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's completely up to you if you want to do it. If you think that this degree, this program will give you the bump that you need that you otherwise are not getting, so this is completely up to you.
It's completely up to you. So I mean, I like to really be in this mindset of so that's another thing which after moving to France and after joining HEC, like it really I believe that I was already very good at this, where I was very good at introspecting myself and really understanding what is it that I really want to do and going towards that and ignoring everything else, which is just a distraction, But after coming to HEC, coming to France and starting this MIM was really when I really understood the importance of this. The connection's unstable again.
Can you guys still hear us, or it's breaking? Oh, shit.
I don't know whether it's live or not. Oh yeah, okay, they can still hear us. Okay, cool. All right, so
and one thing that I wanted to add for that Aryan's point is when I was in my second year of college, undergraduate, I wanted to do an MBA. But when I was in my third year of college, I got into that herd of doing a MS degree from the US.
Right.
And when I was in my fourth year, I thought maybe it's not the right time right now, and I should join the corporate world, get some experience, and then maybe think of something else. So during the 3 years, I had 3 different plans:
Right.
MBA, MS, and then directly job.
And that's totally normal. I mean,
Exactly.
in bachelor's, you always change your ideas a lot, right?
Even if you right now feel that after MIM, you have to do an MBA 3 to 4 years down the line, maybe while you are doing the MIM, you change your mind.
Exactly.
Maybe after the MIM, when you are at a job, you change your mind then that you don't, you no longer need it.
And this is what I was saying, earlier before we got confused whether we are live or not, was that it was after coming here that I really understood the importance of this, of importance of understanding what is it that I really want to do, what is the path that I want to go to. Because look, man, like if we just keep following the herd, we're not gonna get anywhere. Like, because there is no herd. Literally, it feels like it that there's a herd, but there is no herd. So it really differs depending on what you kind of want, and you kind of figure this out as and when you do it,
Exactly. And one thing that a lot of people, have also asked me about is when you are in colleges in India. So the thing is, you have campus placements, but a lot of people actually don't know that we don't have campus placements in Europe.
Yeah.
A
And
lot
how
of
do we
people
deal with
think,
that?
yeah, a lot of people think that companies would come to your business schools in Europe and then you can sit for placements and get a job. So that's
It's
something,
not really how it
yeah,
works here, though.
it's not really how it works. You need to find a job through LinkedIn and other different portals.
And the reason for that is, again, because there is no herd, right? And so if a
Exactly.
company comes to the campus, right, they're not sure how many people are going to be interested in that company, because I'll tell you this little known secret: there's way more opportunities than there are college students. Okay, over here at least.
Over here, yeah.
There are way more opportunities. There's a lot of opportunities in Europe, in the world, right? It's just a matter of connecting the right students with the right opportunities. And so it doesn't make sense for companies to come to campuses here, because not everyone's going to want to do one specific job. That being said, the way to get a job, without campus placements here, is that you network. You network, you apply, you network with people on LinkedIn, you network with alumni, you also just apply online. Like one of my internships that I got at HEC, at Mac Cosmetics at Estee Lauder, I literally just applied for it on the job board at HEC. I didn't do anything special. I didn't really have any referrals or connections or anything like that. I just applied for it, wrote a CV and cover letter, and I gave the interview, and that was it. Unlike in India, I have heard, though I have not been in the job market or internship market in India, I have heard that in India, applying online on company websites is something which doesn't really work. That's not the case over here. Over here, you literally just apply online at company websites.
Exactly.
All my friends who've got jobs, they all got it through just applying for them and then networking with people on LinkedIn to get them.
And
If
yeah, okay, go
just to
ahead.
add to that, if you're interested in getting a job at a startup, it's the same. Apply and network on LinkedIn. At startups, the little known fact again, you can even write cold emails, cold messages, just send people emails and messages on LinkedIn.
I was about to get to this point. So that's the one more secret that you can definitely use whenever you are here in France or in Europe, or in fact anywhere. When you're applying to a job, just do some extra little bit of research and take that extra step to stand out from the crowd.
Exactly.
So what I also did, and a lot of my friends did to stand out from the crowd, is when they're applying to a certain job, they would just use that job's title,
Yeah.
search it on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
and see who the team is. So now they know exactly who are the people who are hiring. So
Yeah.
they would just send them a cold email or a cold DM that I
That is
saw
so
this
smart.
email, I saw this job posting and I applied. I'm really interested. This is what I do. This is how I'll stand out. This is why I'm a perfect fit. And you can have a conversation with the manager, with the team, even before the HR has even seen your CV.
Exactly. So then they already know your name when you apply.
Exactly.
Right. And another thing is basically this, that oh man, shit. I was gonna say something, but I just blanked out. Okay, if I get back to that, I'll mention it.
Okay, because till
But
then
we have a bunch of other
okay.
questions. But
Okay, what kind of extracurricular activities? Oh, looking for. So the thing is, here I really like to point out that a lot of people say that because of the last 2 years, we haven't had a lot of opportunity. But I think that's not the
I
case.
don't think
It's,
that's true.
yeah, because
Look,
online businesses, online commerce, online social media,
yeah,
they skyrocketed in the last 2 years. So you could have done so much. You could. I
there's a
started my
lot.
YouTube channel during the last 2 years.
You know exactly, and the same for me as well. Like, I started making YouTube videos over the last 2 years, and when I applied to HEC, you know what my extracurriculars were, the ones that I really mentioned. One big extracurricular was the fact that I recorded a music album in college. That's not something I needed to, that I could have, I did, whether you have like in-person events or not, like, it doesn't matter, right? I could have done that anyway. I did that before the entire situation, right? That was one extracurricular. Making YouTube videos, freelance video editing, that was like another extracurricular that I mentioned. And so I don't think that you I don't think that there's no opportunities. I think just a matter of finding opportunities and finding things that you kind
And
of want to, like, contribute to.
and plus right now we're living in an age where almost like thousands and thousands of opportunities are there online. All you need is a
Exactly.
laptop and internet connection.
If you're
That's
watching
it.
this if you're watching this YouTube live, you have what you
Everything you
need.
need. Yeah,
Yeah, you have
exactly.
everything you need to, like, build your profile for extracurriculars. But again, about extracurriculars, right? again, I have a video on this on my YouTube channel as well about building your profile. For me, it's all about telling a story, telling okay, what schools want to know. What schools want to know when you when they're considering giving you admission or not is this person clear about why they want to do this? You know, what is their objective with it? If your objective is that I just want to do MIM because all my friends are doing MIM, or like I just want to do MIM because I feel like I should do it, that's not
Exactly,
enough.
exactly.
You should have like a story, and you should have like a very cohesive answer to like why, what are you going to get out of this, right? And why specifically that school, right? And you need to do your extracurriculars, you need to do things which are aligned with that story, right? And then be able to use those as different points in your story to be like, okay, you know what, I want, like for me for example, right, I want to come to HEC because I want to develop a career in marketing in France. I've had, you know, past experiences in Europe. I really like the European way of living life. I did the HEC Paris summer school, and I really enjoyed HEC. I really enjoyed luxury. I enjoyed France, right? And besides that, I started a marketing club in Manipal, which was a disaster. It failed, but I tried to start it anyway, right? I did freelance video editing. I did this. I did that. It was kind of like all aligned with my idea of Europe and marketing, you know. And so that was the idea, and those are the extracurriculars that I did. So if with this objective, if but for example, if you do the exact same extracurriculars, it's not going to work for you because you
Exactly.
don't have this objective, maybe, right? So it's all about what is it that you want to do, where do you see yourself after graduating, and how can you position yourself to be in a way, like, yeah, how can you position yourself to kind of like, you know, make that as convincing as possible, right? And going to HEC, going to ESSEC, going to whatever MIM school or MBA, whatever, is just a step in that process. It's
True.
not really the end goal. Like it's a means to an end. It's not the end, you know. So I think
I
that's
I
what I have
totally
to say
agree with
about
that. I totally agree
extracurriculars.
with that. For the extracurriculars as well, I pretty much did not think that I had any. But when I actually digged up what I had done in the last few years, my graphic design, my photography, my personal
It all
branding
made
journey,
sense,
it
right?
all made sense because
Yeah,
I wanted to go into marketing. So that's really something that you should explore. Just there's a very little small activity that all of you can do. Just take a piece of paper, pen, just sit down and see what you have gone through in the last 2 years. Maybe it has something to do with learning an instrument. Maybe it's something to do with, maybe
exactly,
you went hiking, you love travel, maybe you love
exactly.
playing the instrument, or anything that you
And
have done.
yeah,
Just see what you have done and kind of
craft a story around
exactly
it.
craft a
It's
story.
all about storytelling. It's all about convincing the other person that, you know, the school that you want to go to is a step in the process. It's not the end, you know, and it's basically what it is.
True.
Cool. Let's look at some other questions that we've got.
Yeah, because it's been around 40 minutes, so I think people will also be a little
Yeah.
impatient.
Okay, so very quickly, let's talk about. Okay, so we have some questions about, look, average GRE score and GMAT. I mean, honestly, like average scores is something which I personally have no idea about.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I know that it's always better to have a score more than, uh, let's say in the GRE, more than 315, to at least be able to convince the admissions committee that you will be able to handle the pressure, because it can
Yeah,
get that stressful sometimes. And for GMAT, I would
GMAT.
say,
I think I know that for me at HEC, when the year that I joined, I think the average score was like 710 or something. But look, man,
but you
again,
can always have people with 670,
yeah,
680,
exactly. It really
but they
all
have
depends.
exceptional
See,
stories,
that's
exceptional profiles.
exactly. So this is again like the difference between like the European or Western way of doing things when it comes to education versus like the Indian way. In India, you kind of have like a cutoff. It's very one-dimensional, where you're like, okay, you have this cutoff, you have to get this much percentage, and you will get in or you will not. Over here, it's kind of like, okay, you know, I got 760 in my GMAT, right? But yes, okay. But so I got 760 in my GMAT, but for me, I knew that it was very important to get 760 because I know that if I got anything less than that, I probably would not have gotten, because I know that HEC is very selective about, you know, the kind of people that it takes in. And I learned this after coming to HEC, that, you know, like it only people like, so as far as engineering schools are concerned, mostly it's like BITS, IITs, NITs for HEC, right?
Mhm.
And I realized that, you know, like being from Manipal, it kind of put me at a slight disadvantage in that. So for me, GMAT was mega important.
Mm.
GMAT was like the way for me to like really stand out,
Stand out.
you know, and balance the rest of my profile, right? But if you are from, like, it really depends on the rest of your profile. Like if you're already from an IIT, for example, right, then maybe your GMAT requirement is a little bit lesser, right? It's just an example.
But that's the case only with schools. When you
Right.
actually look at employment opportunities, they don't really care which
Doesn't matter.
college you're from back in India.
Yeah, they don't. And the
They
funny
don't
thing
even
is,
know IITs.
they don't know. And the funny thing is that when it comes to employment opportunities, I think this was a good segue into like the next question that I read, is that there was one person asking about, whether I can't find it, but there's, when it comes to employment opportunities, do they really care about what school you go to, or is it just about, your skills and experiences?
Yeah.
Yeah, does ranking of school matter for employers? Yeah, again, I think it's like, I don't. Okay,
I
look,
think
to an
it's
extent, yes, it does.
like if you are from the top 5 to 10
Yeah.
colleges in France,
Then it's kind of
then they know
equivalent.
your name. Okay,
Yeah.
you're coming from ESSEC, you're coming from ESCP, you're coming from HEC, coming from
Yeah.
EdHec, all of these 4 5 top schools. Then
It
they know
definitely
that you have a
puts,
brand.
it definitely puts you at a bit of an advantage, but then no one's going to give you a job just on the basis of that.
Exactly.
Your skills and your your skills
Presence, how
and your
smart you
presence and
are.
your personality and the way you do your interviews, that matters a lot. Oh yeah, what I was going to say is, the funny thing is that in France, no one cares about your GPA.
Oh yes. True
Like,
that.
so after coming here, I have done 3 internships and got one full-time job, and till date no one's asked me about my GPA at HEC.
Same story. I've worked
It's
in
not even
three
on my CV.
companies.
It's not even on my CV.
I've worked in 3 companies so far, and nobody has asked me ever about my CGPA,
Yeah,
what my GPA is. Nobody cares about it.
exactly. No one cares. And so I feel like, yeah, so I mean honestly, like, yes, the school that you go to, it does matter to a point, but I think your experiences, your skills, your profile, and how good of a fit you are for the job, it matters way more. Like I recently, just I was talking with a friend of mine who's a manager at a company, and he was hiring an intern, and he told me that there was one person from like a really low ranked school in a different domain, and that there was one person was in who was from HEC, and he preferred the first person because that person was a way better fit for the job than the
Exactly.
person from HEC.
Like,
So
that's exactly the point that my manager mentioned directly when I was interviewing with him. He said that we had a lot of profiles, but what differentiated you was you were a good fit for the role,
yeah,
because my role currently required me to uh, be kind of an extrovert person, connect with
yeah,
people, network, find partners, pilots, different opportunities, and that is what I was also trying to showcase through my personal branding. I was doing stuff on the internet, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. So that's what stood out. So his
exactly.
exact words were that you were a better fit. He didn't care about if I was coming from HEC or
See,
ESSEC
again, like,
or from engineering school back
exactly,
in
right?
India. It was a better fit.
Exactly. And it's like, at the end of the day, over here, your way to get a job, honestly, it's not just over here. It's like in the real world in general. Like, campus placements in India are very different. I feel like that's a very specific situation, which is pretty unique to India, I guess. And pretty unique also to like engineering colleges in India,
True.
right? But over here, it's over here, and going forward in life, in career, it's all about storytelling and networking and making sure that you are able to present yourself in a very convincing way.
No, I've been seeing a very consistent question that I have my ESSEC MIM interview next week. Could you please share any tips? For this, I'm just going to say that I've already created 2 different videos, one for the basics and do's and don'ts of the interview, and one for the top 5, the kind of most asked question during the interviews. So do watch those, because that's going to help you. And I kind of took the perspective of ESSEC interview, so it's going to be very specific and niche. And I think that will help you a lot.
And on my channel as well, I have a video about my HEC Paris interview experience, so you can go check that one out as
So
well.
you'll have to ESSEC MIM experience and then HEC
Yeah,
MIM
but
experience.
basically, like, in a nutshell, at least for me, what I would say about the interview is, be very crystal clear about what your objectives are, why you want to go to ESSEC, why you want to go to HEC, whatever. How ESSEC is going to be a stepping stone in your journey, and not that you want to go to ESSEC just because it's good for your CV.
Exactly. But I mean, in the interview process, it's always a two-way conversation,
Exactly.
where you are also convincing why you are a good fit for the school, but also convincing why the school will be a good fit for
You,
your
yeah,
goals and
exactly.
aspirations. It's a two-way
Exactly.
road.
Precisely. All right, what other questions do we have? There are people asking me to sing. I also have videos on that on my YouTube channel. Like
I mean,
interesting.
if you want to see this guy sing, he made a different Instagram account just for his singing
I
video.
closed that Instagram though
Why?
because I stopped updating it.
Oh man,
But
that was good.
but I still publish
Yeah, you do publish
on
singing videos
my
on
main
yeah.
Instagram account. I do sometimes put stories and stuff
But
over
yeah,
there.
people are going crazy about live singing,
Dude, yeah. Also, Kiran, yeah, man, like Kiran wrote a wonderful comment. He has 5.7 CGP and he made it to ESEC. Yeah, look at that. Like,
And this guy is doing. I mean, I want
Kiran
to
is
give
Kiran is fantastic.
I want to give a shout out to this guy Kiran Kumar. He is building up his network so exponentially. He interviewed this guy on his podcast. He interviewed me as well on his podcast, and he released the episode today morning.
Yeah, I saw that on his Instagram.
So on Instagram and the Spotify as well.
And Kiran is doing a great job on YouTube. Kiran has great has a couple of good videos on like GRE and so on. So if you're interested in GRE and stuff, you can like go to Kiran's channel as well.
Kiran, put your channel link or something, or it's that channel.
You can just click on.
Yeah, you can just click on his channel name directly.
No, Kiran's doing a great job. But all right, so we got that. We have what other question about part-time job in HEC Paris? I made a video about this as well in my expenses video at HEC. Like at HEC, it's not really possible to do a part-time job, but it's just because like they don't recommend it, and that's one thing about HEC which I guess is like a bit why I think HEC is also very rigid. Is that like at HEC you can't do an apprenticeship, you can't do a part-time job, you can only work during the gap year. Technically, I guess you can do a part-time job, but the program is so challenging and you just don't have the time for it. So I would really not recommend depending on doing a part-time job to be able to fund your time.
Yeah, that's a big question as well. A lot of people do ask whether we'll be able to use part-time jobs to fund the living expenses.
Yeah.
And that is also that I've seen that, when you are in a college, you have to, build up your profile, you have to network, you have to learn new things. Yeah, exactly. So trying to depending on part-time job is not something very ideal.
It's
so
not.
Try to maybe if you are low on your budget and finances, maybe consider taking up a loan for the entire living expenses, and the time that you free up and you don't do a part-time job, build up your profile, build up your experiences, build up your knowledge, your skill set, so that after the school the ROI that you can get will be much higher than just spending a couple of hours every day doing a part-time job.
I completely agree. I mean, that's what I would recommend as well, because I think so business school is your time over here when you're in business school is extremely valuable. This is the time when you have access to huge network, huge opportunities. You're right in Paris, there's a lot that you can do, and the way you spend your time now is really going to determine how your next 5 years of your career are going to pan out. So I would really highly recommend, whether it's through taking a loan or whatever, it's like really focus on building your experiences and skills the most that you can right now, and spend your time on that.
And especially if you're coming to Europe, you have the freedom to go to other European countries and experience that in itself. Europe, how many different cultures are there right beside you? Maybe you study in France, but you maybe like Germany more and you want to work there, so you have to explore those opportunities as well.
Exactly. There's a lot,
and there's a lot of people. This is also a very big question coming from people, that after my studies in France, do I end up getting jobs in France only or other regions as well? And that's not the case. The entire European region is open to you.
Yeah.
I have seniors going to Germany for jobs. I have seniors going to Amsterdam for jobs, Ireland, UK,
everywhere,
US,
honestly.
everywhere.
Like, yeah, even for me, like my batchmates, I know a bunch of them, a couple of them, one or two of them who got jobs in the US. Granted, I think they were kind of like exception cases. One of them already had 3 years of work experience, and then the other one is really talented guy, and so there's that. And then I have a whole bunch of people from my batch as well who all got like consulting jobs in the Middle East. So there's a bunch of like Indian people particularly who moved to Dubai to work at companies like BCG and Kearney over there. So
even I have a batchmate who got internships in Dubai in consulting companies. Not even after graduation, right?
During,
in the middle,
even me. Like there are people I know who got internships in Dubai for consulting. When it comes to marketing, again, I think for marketing particularly, because I think most of my marketing batch, a lot of them are still in Paris. Good bunch of them ended up in the UK. That being said, a whole bunch of most of them who ended up in the UK, they had UK work authorization already, because for some of the other way they were not from India. And then one of them ended up in Germany. But yeah, for marketing, a lot of it is still in France.
Okay. I think we have almost answered every single question. Is there something that we just want to address
Okay,
at the
Kiran is
moment?
asking about visa after study. Very good
Okay.
question. Honestly, this is something I guess a lot of people don't really know that much about either. And
I mean, you'll be
good,
the best person to,
yeah,
because
right.
I'm still a student.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. So for me, so visa after study, honestly, this is something which again I think France is great for, which is that in France, if you've studied your masters here, it's not like so in the US, right? You do your masters, you have your 3 year OPT if you do STEM, or 1 year if you like don't do STEM, and then the H1B is kind of like a lottery. You may not get it. It's a big stress. In France, it's very very good, because over here getting the job is the hard part. Getting like a full-time job contract is a bit challenging. Not impossible, but challenging. you know but once you have a job, getting the visa is like you're kind of even entitled to it, because you've studied your masters here and you've got a job. So it's just an administrative process to apply for it and get it. you know and the cool thing is that the cool thing is that in France, now that I have this visa, is valid for the next 4 years, and I can like switch jobs in between these 4 years, and it's very flexible. So I think about visa after study in France, it's really good. And I know that many of my friends who've got jobs in other countries in Europe, yes, it's a bit of a challenge to kind of like convince companies to sponsor your visa, but not impossible. Like even for the UK for consulting, I know that some Indian friends of mine, even they got jobs there where the company was sponsoring the UK work visa. So I don't think it's that big of a concern in
okay.
France. Tanya, we missed your question.
So
Okay,
the question was basically when to start
for
preparing for
GMAT and
GMAT and
applications.
applications for
Okay,
students.
so
Yeah.
if you're aiming for 2023 start,
I guess
okay,
for GMAT, I guess I would say as early as possible because
yeah,
the scores are valid for like 5 years.
yeah.
So as early as possible. If you're in your third year of school, you have amount of time. Fourth year of school,
Yeah.
ample amount of time.
But I'll,
So give as soon as possible.
so the GMAT is as soon as possible. I can tell you what my timeline was. I started in fall of 2018. So I gave my GMAT in July 2017. So a bit more
Before.
than a year before that, and I applied for HEC in the first round, which was in October of 2017. So I would apply for so I applied for it 1 year before I started. So in your case, if you're going to start in 2023, you would be so if you start in 2023, you would be applying October of this year, right? And so
Yeah.
if you're applying October of this year, you just want to give your GMAT as soon as you can.
As soon as you
That being
can.
said, again, spend time to really properly prepare for your GMAT. If it's better to apply in round two and really have more time to give your be strategic about it, basically. I know this for HEC at least during my time. Round one and round two, there's not any difference in your
Exactly.
chances of getting in. But after you apply, after round two, round three, four, five, I think there's a five, I'm not sure. Round three, four, five, your chances become lower and lower and
Decrease.
lower
Yeah.
because they only start giving out, accepting like leftover seats from round one and two. So it's more and more challenging to get it. So I would recommend targeting round one and two, ideally round one, because I think for all the scholarships at HEC at least, it's only round one.
Yeah. Plus the Eiffel scholarship as well.
Is only
It's
round
just for
one.
round one.
Yeah.
So round one would be the ideal case. But the thing is, even if you are not prepared by that point of time, it's not something that you should be discouraged with.
Yeah, totally.
Because I myself applied in round three.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly.
I talked to Siddharth during November, December. So round two deadline was in January. I was no way going to make it because I hadn't even given GMAT by then.
Yeah.
So I started preparing GMAT from 5th of January. I remember very precisely. And even before starting my GMAT preparations, I booked my GMAT date for 8th of February.
Crazy, man. Crazy.
I went to home for Christmas break. I came back 5th of January. I booked my GMAT for 8th of February. 6th January, I started my preparations. 1 month I did the GMAT preparation. I got, so it's a whole story, but yeah, I ended up getting 690. I prepared my application towards the end of January and February, and March 4th was the deadline for round three.
Crazy.
And I submitted my application for round three. Round three, yeah, sorry. And one more thing I just wanted to, I think it's a good time to also highlight right now is a lot of people also, like Tanya's question as well. Um what was that? Yeah, start preparing the for GMAT and applications for student aiming for 2023. So actually, after being in this niche for around 2 years, talking to almost every other student coming from different countries to ESSEC, to HEC, ASCP, all the countries as well. I'm starting kind of like consulting for student prospective students myself. So if you are interested in that, do reach out to me on my Instagram or my LinkedIn, and maybe we can work out a good plan. And that is where maybe I can help you with your applications, be it for the MIM or defining your career path, choosing different schools. So there are different options that I will be going live with on my website very soon. So yeah, if this is something that interests you, then do check out my profile on Instagram or just give me a DM on LinkedIn.
Cool. And yeah, Asif, about getting a job is
Yeah,
challenging.
that's my dad.
Ah, oh, that's your dad. Okay, I had
Yeah,
no idea.
he told me yesterday that I'm gonna just go crazy on the comment section and just fire away with different questions.
Oh, that's awesome. Hello, uncle. All right. Yeah, no, about getting a job is challenging, which means tough to get a job. Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. Like in France, it is a bit tough, but I do know that everyone who, like all of my batchmates, everyone who I know has got a job. So it's just that it's challenging. It's a process you need to go through, it, but it's not an easy process just because this is something that I kind of like. It was a rude awakening kind of, at the end of my first year at HEC, I was like, yo, like I'm at the number one business school in Paris, in France, or like in Europe, right? Why do I have such a tough time getting an internship? You know? So, but that's the thing, like it's challenging for everyone,
True,
irrespective of
true.
what school you're in. Like going to a top school helps a little bit, yeah, sure, but it's not an easy process. And I know that it's kind of the same everywhere. I think anything that's worthwhile is hard to get. Like nothing good comes easy, right?
And plus, you also get to uh, know so much about what you're made of and what you can do when you go through these hardships.
Totally.
Because right now, when I went through this application phase, I realized how easy it was to get a job through campus placements back in India. And now going through different applications, trying to figure out what I want to do, how I should approach companies and everything, I'm in so much of a better position than what I was during my
Totally.
fourth year campus placements.
Totally. I mean, the fact that it's challenging to get a job, like the way I think about it here, right, is that a job is not just that. This is the way I approach job hunting and jobs in general, which is that I don't think it's just about me convincing them that I'm the right candidate for them. It's also like the company also needs to kind of convince me that they are the right company for me, and the point is
That's
that
a big issue right now with people. We also need mental peace. We need to have a good environment to work in.
yeah,
People are giving much more
exactly.
importance
and
to that.
and it's so important to work at the right kind of a company. And so if a company is rejecting you, it's not necessarily that it's because you're not good enough. It's probably because they are not the right fit for you, or
Exactly.
you're not the right fit. It's just not a good fit. It's all about fit at the end of the day. So that's why over here, it can be a bit challenging because companies are very picky about the kind of people they choose to take on. Now again, interesting thing about it being challenging in France, the reason it's also challenging to get a job here is because once you get a job, right, a company has to jump through a lot of hoops to let you go. It's not so easy for them to let you go. That's for a full-time job. And that's why it's challenging to get a job in the first place, because companies want to be like very sure that you're the right kind of
Right.
person for
Yeah.
the company who's going to fit really well. But once you do have a job, as I said, getting your visa is not really that hard. You have very strong job security in France, because of the way the labor laws here are structured. And, so I think the fact that it's hard, there's always two sides to a coin. It's hard, but there's strong upsides once you actually do get a job.
And I guess for now it's been a long time. It's been almost 1 hour for
It's
the
been
live.
1 hour,
Yeah,
yeah.
1 hour for the live. So let's call it a day. And any questions that are left, maybe in the chat, maybe you could just DM it to us on Instagram or
Yeah,
LinkedIn. All our links are there in the description below, and pretty much
totally.
in the title of the video itself, you have Mayank's channel's link, so you can watch all of his videos. I think one of your videos is going live today.
One of my videos is going. It actually already went live an hour ago, so you should go check that video out after this. I did a video on my apartment tour in Paris. I was super excited about this video, and yeah, you should go check that out. Also, Tanya, your question about doing a meetup in Paris. Honestly, I really want to do this. I really want to host a meetup. I was waiting until the weather got a little bit better because I wanted to do it outdoors in like a open area.
Open park.
I think now that the weather is good, I think it's something I'm going to plan out. So
Definitely, let's plan
Actually,
out it for
perhaps,
June.
yeah, I definitely want to do that in June, perhaps, or so, to do a meetup. Let's definitely do this, and you will be updated on it through my Instagram. So,
Definitely.
and yeah, like any other questions you guys might have, as Arif said, you can send him a DM on LinkedIn or Instagram. You can reach out to me on Instagram and on LinkedIn as well. I receive a lot of DMs on Instagram and on LinkedIn both, and for me, I don't know, maybe it's just the kind of like the way I am. It gets a bit overwhelming sometimes in both, and for me, I don't know, maybe it's just the kind of like the way I am. It gets a bit overwhelming sometimes when I receive a lot of messages. So even though I read all the messages I get, I am unable to always respond to them. So if I don't respond to your message, I'm very sorry. But I try my best to respond as much
I
as I
can
can.
understand that. Dude, right now I'm at almost 3,000 subscribers and still I get so many DMs. I could not even imagine at 13, 14K how many DMs you would be getting per day. So it's definitely a stressful job. There are a lot of days where I just go through all the DMs, but I don't find the time to, reply
Yeah,
back. A lot of days where I just go through all the DMs, but I don't find the time to, reply
yeah,
back. I try my best to reply to everybody on Instagram or LinkedIn. So yeah, if you have any
totally.
questions, just DM it to me. I'll take I might not reply within a day, but I will try to get back to you within 2 to 3 days for sure. So yeah,
Yeah,
if you have any questions that you put in the chat but we didn't get to it, just send it to us through Instagram or LinkedIn.
absolutely.
And yeah, this was amazing. This was my first ever live with a little bit of hiccups.
Yeah, but
But
dude, this was so much fun. Honestly, I love this format. I love doing lives. This is great. I definitely want to do more lives on my channel too.
wow.
And yeah, you guys should kind of like stay tuned for that too. Like, I think I'm gonna try and do more lives on my channel. So again, thanks a lot for joining.
Yeah, thanks guys for tuning in. And I guess I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.
See you guys. Man,